Lee, will you talk about your commitment to closing the say gap? Where did that even come from? And what do women need to know?
So closing the say gap is basically making sure that the people who are referenced as experts by the media are equally men and women. Right now, and it's better than it was, but right now, 70% of all the people who are quoted by reporters and editors and producers and hosts are men, experts. And if the first 10 minutes of a television show or a news show or the above the fold, the first scroll in a news source is 90% are men. And that's just wrong. And the reason it happens is because women don't put themselves out there. They don't make themselves easily found. They don't care to explain that they are more qualified than the people that you see in the media. But the problem with that is that inside baseball does not work outside baseball. So agendas are being set by the media. As you see, we respond to the media every single day. And if we don't have the women's voice in the agenda setting media that is happening on our culture, on business, on the future of work, on anything, then we're going to continue. We're just not going to be able to break through everything we're trying to do. So that's why it's so important, because it levels the playing field for agenda setting, and it brings different people to the table, right? Of being worthy to be known as an expert. It also levels up your earning potential, it levels up everything. And so I've definitely, in the last 3 years, have spent a lot of time on this topic, providing women's organizations with free training on this. It's a big intensive, as you know, because we've done it for How Women Lead a couple of times, or 3 or maybe 4 times. It's a lot of drinking from the fire hose, but we try to give as much information, as much workshop stuff as possible to as many women as possible, so they can go do this for themselves, because clearly their corporations are not doing it for them.
Well, this is one of the most highly attended and sought after programs we do at How Women Lead. I think you probably know that, Lee. And that's why we've repeated it so many times. Let's just first say, why do you think women aren't putting themselves out there? And then what are a couple how-tos? And yes, of course, they should go to the session that Lee offers.
I think why is we're busy. And we just know, right? It's sort of like the same difference about a woman being in a meeting. And a woman in a meeting will go, yep, don't have need to add to that. That's the point. Don't need to add to that. We'll go on to another point. Whereas men do a lot of echoing of them, echoing of the same thing, right? And we've learned a lot about how to amplify women's voices in meetings by sitting across from each other, by making sure that the point was taken. There's been a lot of data on that. But that same psyche of people just know I'm great, or people know that I'm qualified, comes into media relations, or comes into putting yourself out there as an expert. So I think that's why. And it's work, right? It's work. Yeah. And I don't know that we're great. There's a lot of stigma around being that woman who just puts herself out there. She's just about herself. She's just talking about her. And there's definitely some women I'm like, I wish you did it better, because it's just so self-aggrandizing, as opposed to being helpful, right? As opposed to be sharing your knowledge versus, kind of being a tell-all, right? So, but there are also men who do that, but we definitely, as a culture, focus more on the women who do that.
Oh, yeah. Right? Yeah, it's a tightrope.
It's a catch-22.
Likability penalty is real.
It is.
The more powerful you are, right? Yeah.
Right.
So, and you
do it well.
Yeah, we ask everyone to be unabashedly visible as one of our credo elements, right? And I think for so many of us, I think we underestimate because you're going to get, potentially there's a risk of criticism by putting yourself out there, because women get criticized more. I actually often say to people, like, get an executive coach, then get the support you need to start putting yourself out there. Otherwise you might avoid it. That's the thing that can be put on the back burner. And we need your voice. My daughter needs to hear your voice. If you are not including your voice in the conversation, we all lose.
We totally lose,
because you've been working hard and you have a really critical frame, expertise, knowledge that people need to hear. and we need you out there. It's costing all of us.
Well, and there are men who agree with this too, right? It's not just women who agree with this. The chairman or the CEO of Disney famously, they made a decision, and after they had the meeting with all the executives and there were women in the room, the men went to the bathroom and they all were like standing at the urinal, and they made some big freaking decision about making an investment, like taking over another company, which devalued their stock incredibly. And then like 6 years later, they sold it, at a dramatic discount. And basically after that, it was no more decisions in the bathroom. Right. So, it's not just women who know this, men know this too, but you just have to put yourself out there. You just have to. And then, I think one of the reasons that women aren't making them as much as men is because they don't do this. If you are known as an expert in your field, you get paid more, even if you're not performing as well as the guy who is putting himself out there. So, and I know I looked at our company when we were talking about this, Julie, and we have trained 75% of the people we train in media relations and speaking and all this kind of stuff have been men. In 20 years have been men. And so now, every time we're doing a training for media for a corporation, like a client, we're like, okay, where's the woman's voice? If you're going to train a man, you need to train a woman. And it's a little shocking to some people. Like, no, we don't. I'm like, yes, you do. So bit by bit, person by person. And unfortunately, it's a person by person thing, right? So you have to do that. So we teach people how to do it well.
So if I realize I haven't been doing this enough and I want to do it, I'm committed. In addition to getting my sort of personal supports to make sure I can get over my own demons in my head, what are the highest impact things I can do first, second, and third? Like, what would you say? Like, do this.
So first, I want you to rewrite your bios as if someone else was reading it for you, because they're so boring, and they're boring in general, right? Corporate bios suck. And they don't put you in the best light. They're just sort of like your resume. Who cares? Instead of like what Julie said about me, which was very hard for me to do about myself. And I had a lot of help doing that. It's like, oh, I guess I am a strategic counselor. Oh, I guess I am known for these things. Oh, I guess I am really good at this. It's still, as opposed to I've done this job for 20 years. And before that, I had this job for 5 years at this role. Instead of being a litany of where you've been, talk about your impact, talk about your style, talk about what people get from you. Right. So if you can fix your bio first, and that'll help you talk about yourself better just by doing that act. And then you have to transfer that into LinkedIn. So if that's the first thing that you do, fix your bio. Fix your bio so it's interesting to read, damn it.
So it's not like, I'm Julian, for 20 years, I did the following things, and this is what I care about.
Who cares? They didn't tell you, it doesn't tell you how many struggles you went through. It doesn't tell me when I was at Sega for many years as one of very few women executives there. It doesn't tell you what I went through at Sega and prevailed, right? And how I left the company at a critical time because I knew the company would fail. You need to be able to tell people how you make decisions, what your impact is. So the first thing you need to do is fix your bio, and then start living your bio, start believing your bio. This is not the same thing as believing your own PR, which you should never do. Believe your own bio, write it true, right? And then start living into that. I'm an expert on what? Oh, of course I am. Making yourself easy to be found.
How do I do that? So people will find me on LinkedIn. I have a new bio. I've got a better LinkedIn.
Yep.
What else do I need to do? Even if, tell me give me the.
So how do you be found by the media, right? You be found by probably not your language, but you're found by the media by publishing things. So if you don't have your own blog, if you haven't written a book, if you don't do these kinds of things, right? Take your LinkedIn and start posting your own thoughts on things that you care about most in your career, right? I'm talking about career stuff, not life stuff. So if some legislation passes and it's a big deal for your industry, write your own article on this, right? And then share it widely. Start sharing your own thoughts. So the easiest thing you can do is start sharing your point of view on interesting and important things in your category. So, because this is how the media find people. And they type in the topic, right? So for instance, Julie's working on SB 826 in California right now. So we want How Women Lead to be known for this effort to get that canceled again or get back on 826. So we've written 8 articles on LinkedIn about with from other people, including Julie, SB 826. So now every time anyone types in SB 826 in the what's going to come up very top is Howman Leads LinkedIn site. So, you choose what you want to be known for, you choose what your category is, and you just start publishing. If you work in a corporation, you may have to find out what the rules are so you don't violate their rules. And if they say, no, you can't publish, then go to them and say, I want to be a spokesperson for this company. Here's what I can talk about. I will be available for these at any time. And that is, sometimes you just have to put yourself out there.